Good morning, college football world. Okay, that was a lame attempt at doing Robin Williams, but I'm doing the best I can, especially considering that there is an iPod that usually pumps out the Oregon Ducks fight song down to 20% on the battery, and the charger almost went up in flames last night. It's the price I pay for trying to sleep to something peaceful. But anyway, I'm already in full on game day mode, ladies and gents. Yep, it's game day. It's Selection Saturday game day. It's the Selection Saturday kickoff show where now we get down to the business of picking lanyards for all the games that we're seeing, well, at least I'm seeing, that are being televised today. And before we get started, those of you just waking up and haven't checked your scoreboards, Stanford beat Colorado last night. And even though, like a lot of you who very much assumed that Colorado was going to beat Stanford, let me remind you of what actually happened. Stanford was down 29-0. And then the defense gave it away. The defense is giving up an average of over 40 points a game. I don't think Colorado is a safe pick anymore. Stanford proved it last night. For Stanford, that was their Super Bowl in a checkered season in which they don't have a home right off the top for next year. At least I don't think they do. And if they do, I probably wasn't aware of it, or if I was, I probably wanted more facts. But anyway, Stanford 46, Colorado 43 in double overtime last night in Boulder. I woke up just before 2 o'clock and the game was still going on. And just when I was about ready to turn it on, it ended. So there you go. Let's see what we got on the slate here. We have, I believe, a total of 24 televised games to pick from. 3 of my big one selections to pick from. So that's 27. And then the biggest one of them all, you already know it, Oregon and Washington coming up at the end of the show. As I said, I'm already in full-on pregame mode. So while you may already know who I'm picking, I still have this unique ability to keep you in suspense. I don't have the Washington lanyard in front of me. I don't deal in nylon lanyards. So with Washington, they stay in the box. But you might want to stay tuned because I got a few little tricks up my sleeve here. Anyway, let's get down to business here. Iowa State and Cincinnati on FS1 this afternoon, high noon kickoff. Iowa State's trying to get back on track. Cincinnati, I think, is on track right now. Gotta show off the catitude. Red and black, just like my W&J presidents, who incidentally are off this week. And I completely forgot that they have a bye week. So W&J will be at Carnegie Mellon next week, then Case Western Reserve at home in 2 weeks, and I'll be there for that one. And of course, November 11th, my first W&J Waynesburg game. I'll be live on site for that one. It's hard to believe we're halfway through the season already. We just seem like we got started with it. But anyway, Cincinnati over Ohio State. Wrong again. Cincinnati over Iowa State. I'm good for 1 slip per show, sometimes 2. My average is starting to tank. Anyway, yeah, speaking of which, let me see if I can do the math in my head real quick. 2 wins in 9 games over the last 4 nights. That's bad. That is bad. But this is why Saturday makes up for all of it. Speaking of free falls, Syracuse, they're in the gauntlet of their season now, having dropped 2 straight. And who do they got to play? Number 4, Florida State. So, yeah, taking the Seminoles in that one. Nothing more to say on that. Big one in the Sun Belt today, and if I can just untangle the lanyards. Georgia Southern is at James Madison, and James Madison has a golden opportunity staring them in the face to assure themselves of what they weren't assured of a year ago, and that's bowl eligibility. Despite the fact that they weren't bowl eligible, I put them on the tree last year because I felt they deserved it. They earned the necessary wins to get it. And just because, and this is why, nothing is guaranteed with a school like James Madison, because there could be a situation down the road where if there has to be a 5-7 team in a bowl game, then, what's that going to do for any 6-win team that's not in the Power 5? But James Madison, I think, is going to more than make up for it, and it starts today against Georgia Southern at home. Taking the Dukes. In that one, we have also, back to the Power 5, at the Big House. And it's probably going to be wet and wild up there in Ann Arbor this afternoon when Indiana comes to town to take on Michigan. This one's too easy. Taking the Wolverines in that one. Speaking of wet and wild, Michigan State is visiting Rutgers. It's going to be a wet homecoming for the folks in Piscataway. And if there was ever a time for a win for Rutgers, this would be that time. Pulling for you guys. I want you on my tree this year. Gotta go with Rutgers. Maybe they should have a halftime ceremony putting Cosnester Smith on the Wall of Fame or something. They don't have anybody like remotely famous that I can think of off the top of my head. I keep going back to that, and I apologize. Cosnester Smith, Rutgers University. Sorry about that. Arkansas and Alabama. Is Alabama starting to round into form? Maybe. Won't be an easy one, but, Arkansas's got to start playing desperate. This could be a good spot for them to do it, but you're in Tuscaloosa, you're in Saban's house, hell, you're in my house too. So, yeah, Bama. Georgia and Vanderbilt. Oh, it's CBS. Vanderbilt's, this is the thing that gets me about college football, is that we've had some strange national telecasts this year. Rutgers playing host to Northwestern, Texas Tech and Wyoming. Now Vanderbilt gets on national television. And you're going up against Georgia. Well, we know how that's going to turn out, right? So we're taking Georgia. Now comes one of the trickier ones of the day. Illinois and Maryland. I had high hopes for Illinois at the beginning of the year, and they got to be careful. There aren't too many opportunities for wins the rest of the way for the Illini. This one might be one of their best chances. There's one problem, though. You got a Maryland team that I think they will get bowl eligibility today. So I'm taking Maryland at home over Illinois, as much as I hate to do it. Penn State's hosting UMass, nothing more than a tune-up game for next week when they go to the Shoe against Ohio State. So, yeah, Penn State. Then we have the initially speaking bowl between FAU and USF. A lot of F-bombs being dropped in that one. I initially was going to go with South Florida. And I had to think about it for a little bit because It wasn't that long ago where they gave up only 17 points to Alabama in a game that was delayed for a couple of hours, things like that. But instead, this is where I'm now starting to try to figure out the formula for winning in the middle of the season. I'm going to go with Florida Atlantic on this one. It's probably not the best pick on the board, but it's one that I think record-wise, if there was a team I think that's desperate to put themselves in a position where they could potentially win a couple, 2 or 3 games and then see where they are by the time we get to November, this would be one of them. So FAU over USF. And we now shift our attention. And oh, by the way, there are 27 5-win teams that have the chance to go bowl eligible today. I forgot to mention this also. Fresno State became bowl eligible last night. Congratulations to the Bulldogs. They beat Utah State 35-32, so Fresno State is in. Where they will go, we'll find out in a couple months' time. Right now, back to the picks. Texas A&M and Tennessee, good old Rocky Top. Don't disappoint me. It's about time I changed my tune a little bit. Taking Tennessee at home in that one. Wake Forest and Virginia Tech. This one's on the ACC network, and I'm willing to bet that much like the rest of the Northeast, they're going to get hit with some rain today down in Blacksburg, and that's just fine for the Hokies. I think this might be the one game where few people expect them to win, but this time they will. Sandman cometh. Taking Virginia Tech. We now have Kansas and Oklahoma State. Kansas has a chance to become bowl eligible today. Oklahoma State, meanwhile, still has some work to do. A win at home would be nice. However, in perhaps maybe, this is really weird. I may as well mention these picks together. Because I got Kansas and I got Kansas State, and we're holding them both, for obvious reasons. We're picking them. Kansas State's at Texas Tech. Kansas, of course, 23 in the country. Yeah, I'm dealing with the only 2 Nyla and Lanyards in the whole pick parade today. So we're putting them both on. Both winning on the road. Of course, there will be a showdown later between the two that I'm sure the entire state's going to be looking forward to. Meanwhile, let's make sure that my hunch is right on this one. Where are you? Where are you? There you are. Come on, come on. BYU and TCU. This one's on ESPN. It's down in Fort Worth. I don't know what else to say, but go Frogs. Why not? Gotta go with the Frogs. Gotta give BYU the rude Big 12 awakening they've been waiting for. So we gotta roll with TCU just this one time, and if they lose, well, there's always next week. Iowa and Wisconsin. This one's on Fox, and this one hurts me because I hate to see either of these teams lose, but I have to pick one. And this is going to come down basically to whether or not Iowa has any offense to match up with Wisconsin's air raid. This is one of the few times, I think this may be the only time that I can think, well, no. I did pick Penn State to beat Iowa earlier in the year, so it's a safe bet. I'm going to go with Wisconsin. in that one. In keeping with the red, white, and black theme, Louisville over Pitt. No explanation needed. Pitt is in their own gauntlet. If you've been following the show, you know what they got down the road. Notre Dame, Florida State, and Duke along with the Louisville game. No escape, no way out, no bowl bid. End of story. So we're taking Louisville. Jeff Brom's doing a great job down there for his bowl-bound Cardinals. Looking to build on what he's already achieved. Marshall and Georgia State. The Sun Belt. Loaded with good teams this year. Loaded. I picked Marshall last week against NC State and they lost. This week I'm pitching Georgia State and let's see what happens. Could we be looking at a situation where Georgia State puts themselves in a position where they too can find themselves going to a bowl game? Or does Marshall put themselves one step closer? No film at 11. All you got to do is watch. Auburn, LSU, Tigers versus Tigers. LSU 22 in the country. Guess I'm going to go with the LSU. Don't have much choice, really. Kansas State and Texas Tech, we already took care of it. Kansas State on the road. That now leaves us with Duke hosting NC State. Duke, number 17 in the country, and I take it back. I do have one more nylon lanyard. It's one of the more softer ones, I suppose. I only wear the polyesters at work. That's it. I'm taking Duke over NC State. I'm hoping that NC State gives Duke a good game, but Duke right now looks to be like a team that's primed for something big down the road. Perhaps maybe a New Year's Day bowl game. Or probably, maybe, according to some projections, either a trip to the Holiday Bowl or the Sun Bowl. At least that's how I think the bowl connections pan out in both of those instances. Definitely the Holiday. Boise State and Colorado State on FS1. I said it before and I'll say it again. Boise State typically starts out cold, but they're starting to gain traction, and I got to admit, I do like blue and orange. I do. And I'll tell you what, this last one is Lanyard Selection worthy, and it's also a big one. And it really should be a big one, but it's an undercard to the big ones. But you got the number 2 and the number 3 teams in the country in FCS, and they're going at it tonight. Montana State and Idaho from the Kibbe Dome. For all of you nocturnals that want a great game, you're going to get one tonight up there. 10:30 kickoff on ESPN2. To the winner goes the spoils. To the loser, consolation prize would be nothing more than a playoff berth. After all, that's how they roll in the FCS. They do their own playoffs. But in deciding on a pick, it would have been very easy had I just picked out the helmets. And then I forgot I do have a lanyard for only one of the teams. So I'm going with Montana State, the Bobcats. On the road, in the Dome. Won't be easy, but the job will be done, I would imagine. That takes care of those selections. Now comes the fun part. And it begins now with our big ones. And we start with UCLA and Oregon State. Oregon State, do you really have to show yourself in this spot again, knowing you're going to get beat again? Anything to gain acceptance, right? I put trust in Chip Kelly. He knows how to beat your sorry asses. Go Bruins. UCLA, by the way, number 18 in the country. Oregon State, number 15 in the country. And we know that's wrong. So, taking UCLA on the road in Corvallis against those god-awful Beavers. Now, number 25, Miami, and number 12, North Carolina. Now it's going to get serious. First of all, Coach Mario Cristobal, who once upon a time coached the Oregon Ducks to a Rose Bowl victory over Wisconsin, who I had a lot of respect for, and has now drawn so much ire from fans everywhere. Haters, too, for that matter. There was a joke this week that all Miami had to do was Kaepernick. Kaepernick, the final play of the game, but they didn't. Those of you who saw it know what I'm talking about. Miami losing to Georgia Tech at home. You know, it's bad enough you lose to Middle Tennessee the way you did a year ago. And then you go out in your neon lighted uniforms and the lights went out. Not figuratively, literally. Something got lost in translation. I don't know what it is. How are you even ranked after that embarrassment is beyond my comprehension. There's no way in hell that you should even be featured in this spot on the big ones. But because of your ranking, you are, and you're about to get your doors blown off tonight in Chapel Hill. Taking North Carolina over Miami. End of story. Now comes one of my favorite picks that I've had my eyes on from the beginning of the season. Number 10 USC and number 21 Notre Dame. Oh, this is too sweet. This is too juicy. And yeah, we got to wait until after the Oregon-Washington game for this one. 7:30 kickoff in South Bend on NBC for those of you who need not only a good game, but it should be a great game tonight. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but I hope it's a big, messy quagmire. Giggity! Something needs to slow down USC's offense, but they already have that. It's called their defense. Last week, they beat Arizona in overtime, but in doing so, they gave up 41 points. Now, can Notre Dame pick apart USC? Yes, they can. I believe that. I've picked Notre Dame every week. Every week of the season that they've played, I've picked them. And I'm not going to go against them here. USC, time and again, is so overrated. There will be two teams in the Pac-12 that will lose today. USC is one of them. It ain't going to be pretty tonight, I promise you. And besides, in all the times that I picked Notre Dame, I've gone with the more traditional, well, I don't want to say traditional, but I've gone with the blue and gold. This time around, a game of this magnitude, it calls to mind important meetings of years past. I still have flashbacks to the one game that USC had no business winning. You know, the infamous tush push before it became fashionable in Philadelphia. Well, guess what? Notre Dame, you better live up to the mantra tonight. Play like a champion today, tonight. And that's that for those big ones. Now we're down to the final pick of our Lanyard selections for this Saturday. Now, before I get down to the business of picking, and I'm smiling because I got something that wants airtime. You'll find out momentarily. I knew nothing of the Oregon-Washington rivalry until I went to a game in Seattle. Not a Huskies game per se, but a Steelers-Seahawks game 20 years ago this year, as a matter of fact. And the Oregon marching band was still in town, and they played the halftime show. And the greatest memories I had of that whole experience was Oregon wore those they were the greatest dark forest green hard hats you'll ever see. And I thought they were brilliant. And I, as I would find out later, I understood the significance of it. It was probably out of fear that people might be throwing objects at them. I had no idea the rivalry was this heated until when the band stopped playing and everybody started booing. I had a good laugh about it back then. Of course, back then, I was liking the Pac-12 a good bit, and it wasn't so much Oregon. There was Washington State, where my uncle graduated from. Arizona State on occasion. This was back when it was, I think, the Pac-10. The night before that Steelers-Seahawks game, Washington had beaten Oregon. Little did we know that when 2004 came calling, Oregon would start a win streak of, 14, 15 consecutive victories or something like that. Something tells me I should have went back to Seattle. But I don't really think I need to here. I got my camo on. But that's not enough. That is definitely not enough. If you're going to root for Oregon, like the Ducks fan that you are, you better bring everything in the kitchen sink to the table. And so, I have not one lanyard, not two lanyards, not three lanyards, not four lanyards, but I'm decorated in 5. There's no significance. There is no significance to this. 5 lanyards. But if the game should come out where Oregon wins by 5, then I come out smelling like a rose on that one. But that's not enough. See this, folks? That's right. If Seattle's got their 12th man, then I'm the 12th man for Oregon. And all you Duck fans out there had better be in full throat today. That much is true. You guys had better be in full throat today. Get your wings up. Get your O's up. Oh, we're still not done. You want headgear? I got your headgear. And oh, by the way, I got Ducky too. Baby Ducky. and yours truly will be watching an Oregon Ducks victory in Seattle this afternoon. That much I know is true. You go at them for 60 punishing minutes. Everything you got for the full 60. Offense, defense, special teams. They hit you, you hit them harder. You do not keep the foot off the accelerator. You put that bad boy down. Don't give them any room to breathe. Be relentless. But be disciplined. Be physical. But be smart. And most importantly, do it with pride and not with hate. You know it's go time because it's O time. From all of me and my man Ducky, this has been the Selection Saturday Kickoff Show on Facebook and YouTube. Go everybody, but especially today, go Ducks!